Well, welcome on board, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live, Thursday, the 19th of February. You're with Steve Wyss and James Easton, which means one thing. It is Europa League and Europa Conference League. James, I had to desert you the last time the Europa League was on. I think it was you and Simon Holden. I'm delighted to be back with you here, and we're into the playoff round of these two competitions. So exciting times. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Steve. Yeah, we did. We really enjoyed the show. Me and Simon.
I think we might have just lost your mic there, James, actually. Hopefully, maybe you can solve it whilst we're in the middle of the air, but I can't hear you at this moment. Hopefully, get that back very soon. But yeah, it's welcoming everyone. Hope you're doing really well, all of you. How did the Champions League go for everyone yesterday? It wasn't a great night for the Bet River Sportsbook, actually. The Sportsbook took a loss on 3 of the 4 Champions League matches for Wednesday, and even Olympiacos Leverkusen was only a slight winner for the Sportsbook there. And Newcastle Karabakh was the biggest public winner so far in the 2025-2026 Champions League. Incredible first half from Newcastle United out there in Azerbaijan. And I think, there was a lot of good winners that came in chat yesterday as well. So really good to see. The daily double came in from Will White. That was it yesterday. Straightforward one, but sometimes you've got to be, keep it simple. And that's 7 wins in a row on the daily double for Mr. Will White. Anyway, let's looking through the comments. I want to welcome everyone in. John Tate, Father Brian, Duncan Evans as well, Byron, Chippy Chips, Stairway to 7. Good to see you, Mike, Ray Burke as well, Rick Haley, Byron, Dave Clark. Duncan says, shout out to James for the shot on target picking Monaco PSG. Yeah, that was Simon Adingra. That was a great pick, James. A guy called A, good to see you. Stephen Hall back 3 out of 3 from the show yesterday, and then went 0-2 on Luton and Grimsby. Who was it yesterday that said, let's have no more League 2 bets on this show? It's a dangerous league to get involved in, that's for sure. Indeed, but so many of you in already. Do put your best bets in chat for today. Hopefully, we can get James sorted out with the technical issues very, very soon. But some notable winners and losers on the card yesterday. Actually, there was a really big bet in Cartagena against Vancouver Whitecaps, over 2.5 goals, nearly $60,000. Minus 135. I think that's CONCACAF Champions League. And there was also $60,000 placed on 2 different bets. O'Higgins against Bahia. And that is in the South American League, Bolivia, I do believe. So plenty of money going on in the North American world, South American world as well. There was 30,000 placed on Bodo Glimt versus Inter Milan, over 3 Asian goals. And I did give that out as my best bet of the card yesterday. So really good to see people doing that. James, can we hear you or not? Hello. Do we have James Easton? And we still can't hear him. We still can't seem to hear him at this point in time. Maybe he can tweak around his settings and stuff in that respect. And change the settings or something along those lines. There were some long odds winners as well. 22-1 here on Wolves against Arsenal on the full-time draw. $50 placed on that. Incredible comeback from Wolves from 2-0 down. Big shout out again to Will White, actually, in terms of the plus 1.75 bet was, I think, one of the best bets we've ever seen on Betting Weekly Live for his reasoning and actually having the general balls really to play the bet. So big shout out there to Will White. I think we're going to have to, James is going to have to log in and log out and back in on his device. That's hopefully he can get that sorted out sooner rather than later. So at the moment I'm solo. I'm solo on my own for a bit, guys. So maybe we can get him back in a minute. I'm not sure. This is rather frustrating, but it is what it is. Sheriff of Tippingham, good to see you. How you doing? Simon? Stay away at 7 as well. Peter Chalkin says Arsenal result showcases that the Premier League this year is so hard to predict. It has been one of the most hardest leagues, that is for sure. Mr. Gargoyle, maybe I can carry it. Darren Moss, what's my cat's name? Cricket. She is often appearing on the shows. Check out the betting zoo as well. She's had her own picks this year. Darren, I think she's 5-2 on her selections. So yeah, James, can we hear you? No, we still can't. If in doubt, get the laptop turned on, off and on, and I can carry the show for a little bit because there's a couple of picks that I can talk about in the early games. But hopefully behind the scenes, the guys can work it out. But I would say restart the laptop. Oh yeah, go on your iPhone as well. That is not a bad backup plan. Hopefully we can get James on the iPhone very, very soon because he's got a lot of bets today. James has. He's got 5 official picks, several leans as well. I'm going to start things off with, well, we were going to do futures, but we'll leave that for a bit. But there is one early game that I was going to do the lead on anyway, and it is Brann against Bologna in Norway. Brann at plus 340, Bologna minus 117, and the tie is at plus 240. And this is going to be the first part of the daily double. This is going to be my part of the daily double, and I'm going with over 2.25 Asian goals as a main single, and it's going to go down to over 2 Asian goals as part of the daily double. I think it's a great match for Brann. I think they can take a lot of inspiration from Bodo Glimt yesterday, with a great win for Bodo Glimt 3-1 against Inter. And, Norwegian soccer, I think, will be pretty fired up from a result of that. Brann themselves managed to squeeze into the playoff round. They needed a late goal from Stuttgart against Young Boys Bern, I think it was. So they're kind of relieved to be here. They looked like they were heading out, and they're really, really happy to be in this phase. And they've got Bologna, who they managed to hold 0-0 earlier in the group stage. But I think this is going to be a much more open fixture in terms of goals, because Brann they've had quite a turbulent January transfer window, actually. They've lost some players, they've gained some players. And crucially, actually, Bologna bought one of Brann's defenders, a centre-back, for 7 million euros. He's not included in the squad. We might be able to get James back now. Can we get him in? Hello, Mr. Easton. We still can't seem to hear him. Although he's gone now. Technically behind the scenes, we're just trying to work this out, guys. So stay patient with us. Bring the cat on as the host, says Stephen Hall. FE's saying Brann and Bologna in poor form. I'll lean the under, but he will not touch this game. I like the over a lot. I really do. I think Brann will come out swinging. I think they've missed players. In fact, let me just look at my spreadsheet for Brann. I've got all my Norwegian teams on my spreadsheet, and they've got a lot of ins and outs this window already. They've lost Ivan Helland. They've lost Jaffet Seri Larsen from a defensive perspective. They've also lost Emil Kornvig, who went to a club in Poland called Wisdu, a strange signing. But they've gained some players. Crystal Mani Ingerson, John Dagger Thorsteinsson have come in to reinforce their offense. And I think those two guys are worth watching out for today in the player props market, actually. I've got this down. Crystal Mani Ingerson, plus 125 for a shot on target. John Dagger Thorsteinsson, plus 160 for a shot on target is, I think, excellent value. Two players who are going to make their debut for Brann in this fixture, and they were both heavily involved in a 6-1 friendly win against Odd at the weekend. So, but from Bologna's perspective, a difficult team to get right, but the big problem for Bologna for me this season is that defense just cannot be relied upon often enough. And I think we'll get a shootout here. Brann over the 2 legs, I expect, will probably get knocked out, but they'll give it a crack here. So I really like the over 2.25 Asian line with Bet Rivers, and this is at minus 127. For the sake of the daily double, I am going to put this in Asian goal line over 2. So that's my personal opinion of the Brann game. James actually doesn't have a bet on that game. So we've not missed anything in terms of that perspective. 85% of the money is on Bologna. 89% of the tickets are on Bologna. And 90% of the money is on the over for this match and 88% of the tickets. So, yeah, what else is anyone playing in this game? I'm just looking at the comments. Brad Foot is leading Zagreb Genk goals. I like goals in that. We'll talk about that match soon. Peter Chalkins like the goals in the Celtic-Stuttgart game. AZ money line as well. Rafael Silva James, he is absolutely worth the wait. We will get him in. Don't you worry. We'll get him in all right. He's just sorting out his phone now, I do believe. Technical issues, eh? Just not what we want. Evan Loring says we need to ship James a new laptop for the rest of the season. Send me his address, says Evan. But he's out there in South Africa at the minute, actually. Can we blame the South African network as well? I don't know. The excuses are starting to rain in. But I can see he is in the background now. We're hopefully going to be getting this right. Ken Peacock says the cat is the real star of the show. We will be asking her for a pick at this rate. We're going to need a pick from her. Byron says Fenerbahce moneyline. Forest isn't going to Istanbul and winning. Now, James, have we got any life yet or not?
Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We've got you. We've got him. We've got you, James.
Back in the room. Apologies to you, Steve, and everybody else. We are back in the room and we are ready to go.
I've just talked through Brann Bologna. First part of the Daily Double is over 2 Asian goals from my perspective. I know you got nothing on that game. But I was saying the Bologna defence can't be relied upon this season. Is that a statement you would agree with?
Yeah, I think so. I had a long look at this game, Steve. You know the ones, obviously, that I'm more focused on today. And I also felt, you know Brann a lot better than me. Bologna are one of those sides we haven't actually covered that much, have we, in Serie A this season? If you think of the teams that we've regularly looked at, they've not been one of them. So I had a long look at the prices here. There's nothing really for me here that I fancy. I've got plenty of picks on the show today, and I thought you can't do all of the games, even though we've only got 8 in the Europa League. So this is one I'm very happy to leave alone.
Yeah, I've over 2 Asian goals for me as part of the Daily Double. Over 2.25 would be my best bet of the day as a 1-unit pick. And I've given out a few player props as well. But we'll crack on to some other fixtures. And I'm just checking if you've got a pick in this one. No, you've not. But it is the early kickoffs in the Europa League. Fenerbahce, Nottingham Forest. Now, for me, Fenerbahce are worth backing here in this first leg, minus 0.25 goals. All the talk is about the new manager at Nottingham Forest, Vitor Pereira, former manager of Fenerbahce on 2 different occasions. So he's going back to his former club. One time, his dismissal here ended in a tribunal or something along those lines. Look, some are saying he's a good hire because he's an impact coach immediately. Forest's priority is to survive. But we do know there's bonuses in place from the owner to basically get a good run going in the Europa League as well. So the manager's forced to, he can't just prioritise Premier League at the minute. He has to go all out for both comps. But I think Fenerbahce are worth a good bet here. Minus a quarter of a goal at home here in Turkey. You look at that 11 for Fenerbahce, it's not bad, decent players in it, like Kante, Guendouzi in midfield. What are your thoughts on Forest? They're an absolute nutcase of a club, James. But
yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it logically, I don't understand why they've changed the manager. I thought their form under Sean Dyche wasn't amazing, but I thought it was okay. I thought they were looking, competitive, given that they've had a difficult time of it so far this season. So I thought it was a strange decision, but obviously we need to kind of get used to those happening, don't we, at Forest? I think if you look at Fenerbahce, Steve, I think if they win it, I wouldn't be surprised. They're obviously in quite good form. I think they've got 4 straight wins in the league. I think they've won 8 out of 11 in all competitions, actually, in 2021, although the only defeat was at home to Villa, wasn't it? Which may make you think that, we've talked about the strength of the Premier League before. That's something we should possibly take into account. The only thing that persuades me to not back Fenerbahce here is actually the price. I think plus 123 may be fair, but I would probably look for a little bit more in order to back them. So Yeah, listen, I think they've got a good team, like you say. I think they've got a good chance of winning it. If they'd been nearer to 150, 160 to win the game, I'd have been very interested in taking them. But you can't really make a case for Forest, can you, at the moment? I think the new manager's had very little time to decide what to do. And it's difficult to see why they would beat a Fenerbahce team who are in good form. So I think for me, it's mainly about the price. But in terms of who do I think will win, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a home win here.
Yeah, I like Fenerbahce here. I'm not going massive on it because there's a lot of question marks over Forest, and we have to respect the strength of the Premier League teams. The owner is Greek, obviously, for Forest, and against a Turkish team, like the comment says there, from maybe Nigel. Nigel, you in chat today? We will insist on a performance tonight, and like Byron said, he did insist on a performance last night for Olympiacos against Leverkusen, and that didn't go so well. I'm with you. I'm not sure they needed to get rid of Sean Dyche. I know you're a big fan of Sean Dyche, and I think he did all right. I think he'd have kept them up. Pereira, a few asking about corners here, and there's some great stats with Forest corners, but under the new boss, it might be a new system. So we just don't know. That is the question. There is one player prop I really like here, though, James, and that is regarding Morgan Gibbs-White. And he's minus 103 for a shot on target, and he's minus 113 for over 1.5 shots. Now, I'll listen to his press conference. Morgan Gibbs-White is a player I greatly respect. I feel like I would get on really well with him. I think he talks a very good game, but he delivers on the field as well. He's the captain. He leads by example. He's a prideful player, and I think he's going to want to try and make an impact here. This is someone who has had at least 2 shots in 8 out of 10 Europa League games this season. He's had 10 shots on target in those 10 games. And if you look recently in the Premier League, I mean, he had 4 shots against Everton. They lost that game. I think Gibbs-White wants to step up in this one. I think it's a really good player prop from Bet Rivers. Over 1.5 shots, minus 113. The shot on target as well. He's just a player that I think can grab the game by the scruff of his neck, and he's very good technically. So that would be probably actually my favourite prop play of the day. Lots of opinions on this game. Forest will score at least 1 goal, says Efri Brilovsky. Are Greece and Turkey rivals? Yes, they are. Stay away at 7. Yes, these two countries do not get along very well. It's a big rivalry. What else have we got here? Real Brandon King's got Forest to go down at plus 280, but this game is tough to call with Forest away with Pereira's debut, and that's fair. A lot of people won't want to get involved in it because there are question marks. That's why there's only 69% of the money on Fenerbahce and 60% of the tickets on them. 91% of the money is on the over. Okay, some other early fixtures then. PAOK against Celta Vigo and Dinamo Zagreb against Genk. Now, James is coming in hard here with some interesting plays today. The tie for both of these matches, plus 215 in a PAOK game and plus 245 for Dinamo Zagreb against Genk. You're actually going to back the tie in both of these. So let's start with the PAOK fixture. PAOK against Celta Vigo. What's your reasoning here?
Well, it needs some explaining this because obviously the tie is not something we back very often, and often it gets overlooked by bettors generally, doesn't it? There are 3 ties today for me out of the 8 Europa League ties where I feel the away team is underrated. So the price on them to win the game is too big. And then it's a case of, well, what's the best way of backing an away team in a first leg if you think they're underrated and their price is too big? Now, obviously, you can back them on the money line. Some people may want to do that if they see a team away from home at plus 200 and I'm saying, they're underrated and the price is too big. The alternative is to back them maybe tie no bet or plus 0.25 start on the Asian handicap. I shy away from doing that here because I just feel that a first leg tends to be cagey. It's something Nigel talked about on the show the other day. And I think this competition, more so than the Champions League, does tend to be cagey in the first leg. So with the 3 ties where there are underrated away teams, my strategy today is going to be to back the tie. They're all at plus 200. And so you only need 1 out of the 3 to hit and you'll make a profit. So to go back to the game you're focusing on first of all there, Steve, it's PAOK versus Celta Vigo. Celta Vigo, listen, they've actually come into about plus 188 today. They were plus 100, plus 200 or bigger yesterday. I think it's wrong that they're clear underdogs here. PAOK are plus 150, I think, to win it. Not sure they should be that much shorter than Celta Vigo to win the game. Now, in PAOK's defence, they've had an excellent run at home this season. I think they're actually unbeaten at home in all competitions. A very good home record. They won 2 and they drew 2 at home in the group stage. So good record again, but it shows they can drop points. They can draw games at home. Celta Vigo have got an incredibly high draw rate, both generally this season and more recently this season. So just to give you some of the facts on Celta Vigo, they've drawn 7 of their last 15 in all competitions, and they've drawn 10 out of 24 in La Liga, which is the joint highest number of draws. I think people who follow La Liga, they'll remember earlier on in the season, it seemed like Celta Vigo were drawing almost every game. So what does all of that tell you? I think it tells you that away from home here, Celta Vigo, for me, are the stronger of the two sides over the 2 legs. I think they should go through. But I think it's a great opportunity to back the draw because the evidence is that they can avoid defeat. And if they do that here, I think they're more likely to draw the game than actually win the game. So it's a pick for me on the tie. It's available at plus 215, something like that. It may move a little bit before kickoff, but you're going to get over plus 200. So as I say, my strategy today is to back some of these sides away from home, who I think are underrated, but rather than backing them on the money line, back the tie instead. And if one of the 3 lands, then we should make a profit. So it's the first of the 3 games where I'm backing the tie today. It's PAOK Celta Vigo, and the tie at plus 215, I think, is worth a look.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. I'm a bit anti-Greek actually today. I kind of was yesterday as well. I did issue some warning shots about Olympiacos, and they didn't have a good result. And I'm not sure about PAOK here. They've got 2 key suspensions in attack. Georgios Giacomakis, probably butchered that name, is one of them, with former Atlanta United player. And I remember, I know someone who used to back him every single game for Atlanta in a season when he scored 19 goals for them in 30 games. It's a big loss. He's had a decent Europa League campaign as well. And if I was going with a side, I would go with Celta. But I could see a tie here. Celta Vigo to qualify over the 2 legs, by the way. I think that's a really good looking bet. I know it's a bit short, but it's about minus 177. I think if you're looking, because there'll be people out there who are betting on parlays in to qualify, and I think they're a great addition to any of that. I really be surprised if Celta don't go through over 2 legs.
Yes.
In the first leg, I could see it being an under. I could see it being 1-1 draw, 0-0 even. Could be possible there. The next tie that you've got, James, is obviously Dinamo Zagreb Genk. I quite like the idea of goals in this game, but the tie at plus 245, should Dinamo be this short? Really? I mean, Genk are mid-table in the Belgian league, but they've started 2026 quite well. They may well give a better account of themselves than those odds suggest.
I think so, yeah. And the price has actually moved against Genk in the last sort of 24 hours. They're quite big outsiders here, aren't they? Plus 280. Again, this is another of the games. It's the second of the 3 games today where I think the away side are underrated. I think that plus 280 on Genk is too big. They finished 9th in the group phase. Dinamo Zagreb were 23rd in the group phase. So you could argue Genk proved their superiority during that part of the competition. I think Genk have won 5 and drawn 1 of their last 6 in all competitions. And they won 3 of 4 away from home in the group phase. So everything to me suggests Genk are too big here. Listen, you might want to look at them on the money line. Plus 280 is obviously a tempting price, or possibly tie no bet. But I'm doing it as a strategy on the 3 games where I do feel the away side is underrated. So I'm back in the tie. I think the tie plus 245, you'll get a good run for your money. Dinamo Zagreb, yes, they've been pretty good since the winter break. I think they've won 4 out of 6. They won 2, they lost 2 at home in the Europa League group phase. Yeah, but they finished 23rd in that group phase. And I think, again, this is a tie where I would expect Genk to go through. It'd be annoying if they did win away from home here because I'm back in the tie. But again, I just feel that the strategy that I'm employing here is to back the sides who I think are underrated away from home to tie. I think plus 245, something around that on the tie here is good. I couldn't really work out why Genk were as big as they are, Steve. As I say, the market's moved against them. It could be some team news. It could be information about the weather. I don't know. But I like the look of Genk here. So you may know my strategy of backing the tie, but I would say, given the price on Dinamo Zagreb of minus money, the smart play for me would be to find some way to support Genk here.
I like over 2.5 goals at minus 107. I think Genk matches generally, whenever I've seen them, really wide open, pretty end-to-end. They've been scoring goals in the build-up. A player prop I like for this game, Dion Bajo, anytime scorer for Dinamo Zagreb, plus 175, has scored 9 goals in his last 8 games. So that's a good enough reason for me. The starting striker for them, I think it might be quite a decent game. 94% of the money is on the over in this match. James is on the tie again. The third tie pick that you've got comes in a later game, actually, for Europa League. And we are going to stay with Europa League late. We haven't got so much on the Conference League today, but we're going to stay with Europa League because the second part of the daily double here is Celtic against VfB Stuttgart here in Glasgow. Been plenty of money for Stuttgart all day, minus 106 favourites now with Bet Rivers. Celtic plus 265, of course, involved in that epic title race in the Scottish Premier League this season. 3-way battle, James. Really, really exciting times for them. At Celtic are scoring lots of goals. Stuttgart are scoring lots of goals. What do we go with?
Yeah, I think goals is a way to play here, Steve. I think sometimes, you look at the bets and you look at the games and you look for an angle and all the rest of it. And sometimes, the obvious one is the right one. I think goals is the way to play it here. Celtic have obviously improved massively. If you go back to, I think it was early January, they lost to Rangers. It was fairly doom and gloom back then, about 6 weeks ago. Since then, they've won 8 and they've drawn 2 of 10 matches in all competitions. Their form has improved massively, but crucially for the play, which, as I say, is some kind of over goals here, they're scoring goals. I think they've scored 2 or more goals themselves in their last 8 games in all competitions, which is a tremendous record. Listen, I know some of the teams they're playing domestically, you'd expect them to be putting them away, but they're still doing it consistently. They haven't had a game where they failed to hit 2 goals now for quite some time. And they're facing a Stuttgart side who are naturally high scoring. We know the Bundesliga can be a high scoring league, but Stuttgart are one of the high scoring teams in that division. I think they're top of the over 2.5 goals table at the moment in the Bundesliga. 16 out of 22 games they've played have gone over 2.5 goals. All 11 of their away games in the Bundesliga have had over 2.5 goals. So, as I say, sometimes it's the obvious play. Celtic VfB Stuttgart over 2.5 goals at minus 167. Maybe too short for some people as a single, but I'm very happy to put it forward for our daily double today because I think, obviously you can see it on screen there. We're getting plus money daily double. If you did want to do Celtic Stuttgart goals as a single, you may want to look at a slightly higher goal line. Over 2.75 goals is available at minus 134. Over 3 goals is available at minus 103. So as a single, maybe over 3 goals at minus 103 would be what people want to look at. But as part of the daily double, Celtic versus Stuttgart over 2.5 goals, you've got both teams' stats pointing towards goals here. And, I cannot imagine Celtic at home changing the way they play here. I think they're more likely to have a go and try and get themselves in a good position for that second leg. They're obviously outsiders in the tie, but I think they've got a great chance of at least scoring and contributing to a high-scoring game. So overs all the way for me here, Steve. And like I say, in the daily double, paying out a plus money there with 2 pretty strong selections, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, that's the official daily double. Brann, Bologna over 2 Asian goals. Celtic, Stuttgart over 2.5 goals, plus 137. And totally agree with in terms of the single angle. I really like over 3 Asian goals here at minus 115 now. This would be my second best bet of the day behind the Brann one. I was delighted you put it in for the daily double, James, really, because I just can't see anything other than goals in this one. Celtic will give it plenty. We know what they're like at home. I'm not sure I'll be trusting Stuttgart minus money at Celtic Park. I'm not sure about that, although they're the better team. We know that. But I can see why Byron's tempted there by Celtic on the Tyno bet plus 160. That is for sure. Producer Troy with an interesting stat. The home team was won 8 out of Stuttgart's 9. in the Europa League this season. So, yeah, I mean, what's to qualify Stuttgart minus 335? I don't think I'd go near that because Celtic are one of those sides you just never know with them. They can bring it with the home crowd. There is 73% of the money on the money line on Stuttgart and 70% of the money on the over-under line is on the over. So that's the overs we want. That's the official daily double on screen there. Let's continue with our late games in the Europa League. Panathinaikos against Viktoria Plzen. This is the third of your ties today, James. It's plus 215. I have to say, I fully agree with that. This is probably the one match on the card in Europa that screams tie all day long. Tie all day long. So I'll let you give your reasoning.
Yeah, I think so. This is a third of the three games where I think the away side is underrated. But I tend to agree with you, Steve. I think if taking out the fact that I'm doing this as a strategy, I would probably just go on the tie here anyway, to be honest, because I think everything points in that direction. Panathinaikos are favourites to win it. Viktoria Plzen at plus 240. I think it's probably a bit too big. Plzen did finish 14th in the group stage. Panathinaikos finished 20th. So they've got that sense of being the stronger of the two sides anyway. And then if you look at some of the results in the group phase, I think Panathinaikos drew two out of four at home. I think Plzen drew two out of four away from home. I think they met in the group stage. It finished 0-0. Plzen played a lot of that game with 10 men. So everything to me about this game looks as though it's a good shout to be the tie. And you're getting a good price. I think over plus 200, to get a tie here, it is good value in a game where I think Plzen would take a tie here. I'm not sure they've got it in them to go here and win. I think that's going to be challenging for them, although they have been in pretty good form since their winter break. I think they've won 4 out of 5, actually, so they're doing pretty well. But I think the tie all the way here, Plzen at plus 240 to win it. As I say, that's maybe a stretch too far, but they do look good enough to me to avoid defeat. So it's the third of the three games for me where the underrated away side leads me to back the tie. And of the three, probably taken in isolation, this is one where the tie, like you've said, Steve, is the most appealing.
Yeah, totally agree. I've got Viktoria Plzen plus a quarter of a goal here as a bet at minus 113. I don't think they'll lose. They've only lost 2 of their last 20 competitive matches. I mean, this is a team that does have a lot of ties. They don't get beaten easily. They've only conceded 3 goals in the group stage. They are, I think someone once described them as an accumulator of coefficient points. And that's what they do in Europe. They like domestically, they never seem to get near Sparta Prague or Slavia Prague over the course of a season. But for me, they're the third best team in that country. And they're just the sort of team, if you draw against them in any European competition, you're thinking, oh, we're in for a tough day here because they're not going to make life easy for us. So quite a few like in the under in this game as well. Under 2.25 goals is minus 113, and I would agree with that as well. Brad Betts makes a very good point. Panathinaikos, kings of the shot fest with low scoring. They are that sort of team. They're not even that great this season domestically, Panathinaikos. They are a bit off the pace. 0-0 detectors beeping here a little bit, I think it is. It could well be, hopefully. I certainly
wouldn't argue with the under, Steve. It's not a market I looked at a great deal on this game, but like I say, Plzen, I think, will be confident they can do that because they've got a 0-0 draw with 10 men in this fixture already this season. I just think it lends itself, when you've had that sort of experience, to taking a similar approach. So, unders would not surprise me one bit.
There's a lot of love for the ties today. North Van Canuck saying these games are very unpredictable. I'm just playing the ties on as many games as possible. Tobias is taking the ties as well in PAOK, Lille, Brann and Braga. So good luck with that, Tobias. Now, there is, of course, with the Champions League is halfway through the playoff round. And we've still got the bonus bet, which is applicable to that competition. If you bet Rivers in New York or New Jersey, you can take advantage of a Champions League bonus bet from Betting Weekly. Enter the bonus code BW216 for a $10 bonus bet, and you can use it on the Champions League knockout round second leg. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Just want to make people aware of that who've not used it already. That's BW216. And again, it's available to Bet Rivers bettors in New York or New Jersey. So something to bear in mind. Offer ends 25th of February. Must be 21 eligible players only. But do get involved with that. Still a chance to get that bonus bet ahead of the Champions League next week. Tobias, when you said Braga, I suddenly thought, hold on a minute, have I forgotten about a team today? And I started to panic a little bit. Yeah, it's Panathinaikos match, not Braga. Byron says the Lille match under 3 for me. James, have you got any thoughts on the Lille match? We might as well go straight into the Lille match now, actually, James, here, because it is at the bottom of the screen, but we've had a question for it. Lille minus 165. A Red Star, Crvena Zvezda, as they are known, plus 460. The tie at plus 290. I was doing my brains at the weekend with the Lille-Brest. I don't know how it went, how it ended under 2.5 goals. I don't know. But Lille, for whatever reason, they just cannot score goals at the moment, James. Is that going to change tonight? Are we finally going to get a glutton of goals from Le Dog?
I don't think we are. I completely agree with the comment there. Under 3 goals for me is the play here. I think Lille have lost their way in front of goal. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I think if you watch the way they play, they're still playing the way that they played in the first half of the season. They're using the ball fairly well. They're quite progressive in what they're trying to do. It's not that they've become a more defensive side. The issue that they have for me at the moment is there are very few players in the Lille team at the moment who look likely to score goals. Simple as that. They're trying to do it in the way they always do. They do like to take the game to the opposition, but they're just not managing it. I wanted to flag up Hamza Igerman, Steve, who is out injured at the moment. He's pretty much the number 2 striker at Lille behind Olivier Giroud, but it's worth noting that the injury that he picked up at the start of the year, which has ruled him out for the rest of the season, is a big factor for me in why Lille are struggling to score goals. He came into this team in this competition in the first half of the season, was often very effective. He's actually got 5 goals in League One, while Olivier Giroud, the number 1 striker, has only got 4 goals in League One, playing something like a third of the minutes that Giroud has played. Giroud, for all that he's obviously a big name and been a fantastic striker, he's really struggling to find the target. And the players in and around him in attack, they're just not looking likely to score either. So it's a big problem for Lille. I think they failed to score now more than 1 goal in a game in their last 10 in all competitions. I think they've scored just 6 in their last 10 matches, which is really poor. I think if you're the away side here and you're across what's going on at Lille, you come here and defend. I think you've got a really good chance of being competitive in the second leg if you're Sverner Svedsta by just being defensive, because you're not having to defend against a Lille side at its best. We know they can score goals when they are playing better. We saw it in the first half of the season, but I think if you're canny at the moment, the way to play Lille is to be defensive and try to frustrate them. And if the visitors do that, and I think they probably will, it's very hard at the moment to see why the game would have more than 3 goals. So for me, it's under 2.5, under 2.75, under 3 goals, whatever line you want. I'd find a way to go unders here, because I think the fact that Lille are struggling, I don't really see why it would change tonight. Also should be worth flagging up, Steve. I think they did meet in the group stage the other way around with Lille, the away side. Lille did lose that 1-0. So, that was a low-scoring game and one where the opposition would have gained some confidence from that. So, listen, Lille might win it, but I think if they win it, they're probably likely to win it by a single goal. So there's no real attraction in backing Lille to win. I think a low-scoring game here is the way to play it, based on just how many players in that Lille team at the moment are struggling in front of goal.
The Red Star Belgrade scouts have been listening with interest there. James consistently tells opponents of French teams on this show how they should play against them. Yeah. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. Red Star, will they use their brains in this match? And I mean, this is starting to become a crisis for Lille, I must say. But when you think about it, like you said, they probably don't have the personnel on the field right now you can trust to hit the back of the net. Giroud, Brad Bed said he's absolutely cooked. I mean, I don't want to use that word for such a legendary striker. But he's not what he once was, is a fair point to say.
He's not what he once was. And the other thing as well, Steve, in Giroud's defence, and it's a fair comment in a way, but in his defence, he was not bought to play in this competition. If you look at the way they selected their team during the group phase, Hamza Igerman was being rotated in fairly consistently. And the fact they don't have him available now because he's injured, and they did not go back into the market in January to sign another striker, it gives them a real problem. And the wide attackers and the number 10s they've got in this team, people like Felix Correa, Hakon Haraldsson, they signed a couple of guys in the window, wingers, Gaëtan Perrin, came back into French football. Ajuma signed from Toulouse. These are not prolific wingers in terms of goals. They're not prolific number 10s. Very few players, like I say, in that team at the moment look like scoring goals. So, yeah, it's a big problem for them. It's a problem for them in League One, where they're going for a top 4 spot because they're dropping points now. And as I say tonight, if you play it clever and just try to be defensive, you've got a good chance of really frustrating Lille at the moment.
Yeah, under 3 Asian goals. That is James's play for this game. One more Europa League match to discuss. Neither of us have got a pick on this one. Ludogorets against Ferencvaros. It's a proper pick on this. Yet the tie's at plus 220. I think you could probably do worse than back the tie in this game as well, to be fair. Both teams have met each other 3 times this season already. That's the big takeaway, I think. In the group stage, Ferencvaros were at home and won 3-1. They also met in Champions League qualifying back in August. 0-0 in this leg, and then 3-0 back in Hungary for Ferencvaros in the other leg. So Robbie Keane, who's starting to attract interest back in the UK now, for he was even linked potentially with the Palace job this summer. He's starting to build up a decent resume here, a decent CV in Ferencvaros. Just wondering if he might use the same tactics again back early in the season, get the draw away from home, then win at home. Clearly, he knows he can beat them at home, Ludogorets. So I'm not sure about this first leg. I think it's one of the hardest games on the card, James. Yeah. Any brief thoughts?
Yeah, same, Steve. I looked at the prices. They look really fair to me. So I'm leaving it alone. I don't have a view on it. I think it could be quite an entertaining game. I think both teams will kind of fancy their chances of doing well here, because Ferencvaros did pretty well in the group phase. They finished 12th. I don't think they'll feel they're going to be outclassed here. And they've obviously got that win under their belts against the same opponents in the group phase. I think it was in November. Obviously, that was a home game for Ferencvaros. But I think when you've beaten the opponents you're facing 3-1, you're fairly confident. And yeah, Ludogorets have made a pretty good start to 2026. I think they've won 5 out of 6 games. So their general form is pretty good. One to watch for me. Maybe one we'll revisit next week when we deal with the second legs, because there'll be a chance of having a bit more information. But I think the prices here look about right.
Yeah, Ludogorets, of course, hold the record in Europe, don't they, for the most consecutive domestic titles. But they're 7 points off the top of the table this year. From what I heard, Bulgaria is desperate for a different team to win their league. So Levski Sofia, who are top of that league, 7 points clear. It's in their hands. Ludogorets might end. Finally, their long run of domestic titles might end. I'm really. There's a lot of split in chat here. Aaron Blake says 100% unders. Tobias says it's the hidden over of the match day. Effie says both teams score. Yes, I'm going to balance it out, and I think under as well. So. I don't know. Make your own mind up. It's a tough game, and I think it could go either way. Let's get some betting splits for it, actually. 70% of the money's on Ferencvaros, so the away side have more of the money, and 71% of the money's on the over. By the way, in that Lille game, it's one of the few matches where there is more money on the under, James. 53% of the money's on the under. If you're following the money for that game and you're following James's pick, under is definitely the call for Lille. All right, well, we've done Europa League. We had to make sure we get the Europa League matches in. We're not as big on the conference today. In fact, struggling for any main. I think I've got one pick in it. I don't think you've got an official play. But here's the Conference League winner market. Crystal Palace are the favourites, plus 300. Strasbourg at plus 500. Mainz, Rayo Vallecano, and then Fiorentina. Interestingly, we do have Fiorentina and Palace in this playoff round, of course. Strasbourg, plus 500, James. I'm starting to lean towards them as my outright pick for the Conference League. I really like what Gary O'Neill's doing there. I think they could win it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they could. I think they're going to take it seriously. We know that. I mean, Gary O'Neill, people who don't follow League One may not have seen, but he's come in and replaced Liam Messina. Results have, in a funny way, been kind of mixed, but they've been very, very entertaining to watch, and they're creating a huge number of chances. So I think there'll be a threat. Gary O'Neill made it very clear they're in that competition to win it. So there's absolutely no chance of Strasbourg writing it off. They're obviously not involved in this playoff round because they did so well in the group phase. I quite like the look of them. I wish they were a little bit bigger than plus 500. It's probably about right for me. I think that price is okay. I'm leaning away from Palace at the moment. Obviously, their form has fallen away, and there's now a little bit of uncertainty about them, given that the manager is going to be changing and all the rest of it. And so I think the price is quite short on Palace, but it looks fairly open behind those two. I don't have a strong view behind those two. Whether somebody can come out of left field and have a good run in the competition, I don't know. But yeah, Strasbourg to win it wouldn't surprise me. In terms of prices, as I say, there's nobody for me at the moment that is absolutely standing out in that list of contenders.
I think AZ Alkmaar and Sparta Prague might be worth a little bit of a nibble at 16-1, but there's no one stand out beyond. It's quite an open field, really. I think you could make a case for a few teams to go well here. Of course, we've got Conference League. I mean, I've got to be honest, James. And it pains me to say it because I've loved this competition since it started, but this round of fixtures is awful. Honestly, there's some really poor teams in operation, and it's almost like July qualifying. Like first round, some of these games. And I think that I've got to make that point because, often on these shows, we're talking about matches in the top leagues, Champions League and that, there might well be quite a lot of mistakes made here, missed chances and stuff, because there is some very poor teams in operation. These are the early fixtures on the card. Kick off in an hour's time, actually. Just want to, before we talk about Palace, I want to talk about KuPS against Lech. Because Lech Poznan here have been massively backed in. I think they're nearly minus 200 now with Bet Rivers. And the main reason for this is because, in fact, minus 220 now, Lech. The lineups have come out, and KuPS have lost 18 players so far in this winter transfer market. Now, it's not unusual for the Scandinavian clubs. They have a lot of ins and they have a lot of outs. And they've actually got 10 players have come in. The big problem is, you cannot register all 10 of your new players. You can only register, I think, 3 or 4 new ones tops. So KuPS are massively weakened. There was a rumor going around that they've only got, I think, 11 first-team players available for this one today. So I get why there's been a lot of money for Lech, but there is a weather factor to consider here as well. I don't think I've ever seen such low temperatures since I've had to do any weather research for these shows, James. In Celsius, it's going to be minus 16 here, and it's going to feel like minus 20. So that is around about 6 to 3 Fahrenheit, and it's going to feel minus 4 Fahrenheit. Now, that is bloody cold. This is in the city of Tampere. It's not even their home ground, KuPS. And look, this could be, despite a mismatch, I could see a situation where it's sort of low scoring, Lech win and under 3.5 goals. Both teams score no at minus 113. That really sticks out to me here, partly because I don't think KuPS will score. But that is unbelievable. I can't imagine. I've never been lower than minus 10 anywhere in my life, I think.
That's very difficult. It's a good point you make there. There's a couple of games actually in the Conference League where the weather is going to be a factor. Heavy rain is forecast in a couple of the matches. I think we have cold temperatures, not quite that cold, but cold temperatures for the Jagiellonia Fiorentina game, which we're going to come on and talk about. So, yeah, definitely worth looking at. The general point you make, Steve, about the standard, which sounds a bit disrespectful, doesn't it? But the standard of the fixtures here, I think, is fair. I think it's very difficult to see a standout tie among the 8. Some interesting ties where we're going to learn a lot in these first legs to take forward to the second leg next week. So that's kind of why I think we're splitting the two competitions up here. I think of the two, the one where there's going to be more learnings for the second leg is definitely the Conference League. So by all means, keep your powder dry for this first leg, for the second leg. That's what we're generally doing. And I think it might be wise because, like you say, there's a lot of teams here who don't have a great deal of pedigree. It's difficult to judge how strong they are relative to one another, but it will be fascinating to see how it plays out. And I do think it will mean we're better informed when it comes to the second legs.
Yeah, I'm certainly wary about the Conference League for this round. But both teams scored no. I am going to bet that one for KuPS against Lech Poznan. I think Lech will win 2-0. is the way that I see that one. We've got to talk about Crystal Palace, of course. And, they're away at Zrinjski here. Palace, clear favourites with Bet Rivers. I had a look at the away end, James. It's been doing the rounds on social media. It looks more like Alcatraz. It's this massive, well, not massive. It's like a cage that they're going to be surrounded in. Crystal Palace, minus 360 now. Crystal Palace, the favourites for the Conference League. I mean, Glasner has a history of doing really well in these cup competitions. And, in terms of the actual lineup for Crystal Palace, it is out now, of course. It's not a bad-looking team from what I saw. You got Jurgen Strand-Larsen there, Brennan Johnson, Sars playing Munoz, Wharton's in midfield, Lacroix at the back, Henderson in goal. Looks like they're taking the first leg seriously at Zrinjski. What do you think?
And I think it's a bit of a surprise for some people. Maybe it shouldn't be because we know they're taking the competition seriously, but maybe people felt they'd be saving 1 or 2 players for the league, where obviously results haven't been great. I think they were minus 275 earlier today, actually, so they've shortened a lot. Listen, they should win it. There's no doubt about that. They should not only win the tie, they should win today. They're facing a Zrinjski side who only really crept in to the playoff round. I think they finished 23rd in the group phase. I think they lost 3 out of 6 in the group phase. So they're not a particularly strong side. Having said that, Steve, how often did we get tripped up with Palace in the group phase? We thought they'd canter through it and be one of the top sides, didn't we? And they drew that final game against KuPS in the match day 6 it was of the group phase, which is why they're in this round. So they've not really progressed the way we thought. You could argue they probably shouldn't be favourites for the competition based on how they've played. They're obviously favourites because of the potential that they've got. So I don't fancy them at the short price they are. Like I say, they should win. But this is one of the ties where you've got a very strong favourite and yet the price is so short, it actually means that for me, there's no bet available on this match.
Yeah, I want to see. I mean, even in qualifying, they didn't progress that easily, did they? 1-0 on aggregate, I think, against Fredrikstad. Yeah, I'm going to wait and see. I think Palace will certainly have enough over the 2 legs. Probably should win the first leg, but I'm not interested in the handicaps. The earlier game, Sigma against Lausanne, I've got nothing there. This is the sort of match I was on about, James, where it's just a really poor looking lineup. Noah, AZ Alkmaar, I think AZ will win that one. I think they should be beating Noah haven't played a competitive game since the last round of matches in mid December. That's a big concern for me for Noah. They've played loads of friendlies, but I don't think it's quite the same. Troy Parrott starting up front for AZ Alkmaar. I know a few put him in the comments here throughout the whole season. Usually a good option. And then the late games for the conference. Again, it's a really poor look, isn't it? I've got to be honest with you. The likes of Skendi against Samson Spor. I mean, dear, oh dear me. Dritter against Selle. It's not particularly very appealing. And I've got to be honest, nations that I don't know as much about as some others. But we will talk about the bottom game there. Jagiellonia Bialystok against Fiorentina. Now, Fiorentina, some might look at that and think, wow, plus 145 on a Serie A team to beat Polish opposition. But we do know Fiorentina have rested players for this match. They've not some big players haven't even travelled with the squad. Full focus on the match against Pisa. Could Fiorentina be vulnerable in this first leg? It just looks awkward, this match, to me.
Yeah, they could be. They could be. Yeah, they've definitely got bigger, haven't they? I think they were plus 100 and they're now out to like plus 145, which is all down to team news, which we've said so many times, haven't we, on the show this year. Team news is absolutely vital. Yeah, they've rested people because they're locked in the relegation battle in Serie A. They've got that game against Pisa on Monday, I think it is, which is a huge game for them. Could they get caught out? They could possibly get caught out, I think, in the first leg today. I still think they should have enough to get through, but these two sides were fairly well matched in the group stage. I think Jagiellonia finished 17th and Fiorentina 15th. So there's reasons why it will be challenging for them. And, I think it is always a boost for the underdogs when they see a big name opponent rest players the way that they've rested them. So they could get caught out. I think if you're looking for a play on the game, and I don't have a pick or a lean on it, but it's something that we flagged up on our weekly European show. Fiorentina have been involved in a lot of scoring games recently. I think their last 6 have gone overs. I think 7 of their last 8 have gone overs. And I think both teams to score has been yes in their last 8 games. Now, most of that has been in Serie A, and it's a different animal because we know they're fighting to get out of the relegation battle. But one thing we flagged up on our European show is that Fiorentina seem to think their way to win matches at the moment is to go for it. They're not being defensive. They're not shutting down games. They are going for it. And if that plays out in the same way in Europe, then, I would look at overs maybe at minus 110, I think it is, as opposed to unders, which is minus 130. But I should reiterate, I am leaving this game alone. I think the team news with Fiorentina makes it a difficult read. So it's one to take a watching brief on for next week, which I think applies to a lot of the games in the Conference League today.
It's going to be another cold one here, minus 7 degrees Celsius. That's 20 Fahrenheit. And Jack Harrison's set to start on the wing for Fiorentina. I might be tempted by Jagiellonia Bialystok here, draw no bet. Like Effie's got that up there. I might just be tempted by that one. I think Fiorentina could be caught short in the first leg. Effie's going with Sele moneyline, Ammonia moneyline as well. These late games, I quite liked Ammonia actually. Interesting. They seem the best team in Cyprus right now. Well clear at the top there, so they did catch my eye. I think that Ammonia Rijeka game screams of 2 home wins in each respective leg. Dritta Celje, Celje matches often go over quite a lot, don't they? Skendia Samson Sport, I've no idea. Genuinely no idea. It's not often I say that, James. It just looks a horrible matchup. Any final thoughts? And there was nothing else that I've missed from you. I don't think that in the conference, have I?
No, absolutely not. Listen, I don't know what the viewers and listeners think about the Conference League generally. We've obviously come down very heavily today with our views on the Europa League. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. But like I say, make the point again, I think there's a lot we can learn from these ties today. They are fascinating, if very difficult to read. And I think famous last words, Steve, but when we revisit the Conference League for the second leg next week, I do think we'll have a clearer picture of what to expect in some of these matches.
That is a reminder of the Daily Double today. Celtic-Stuttgart over 2.5 goals. Brann Bologna over 2 Asian goals, plus 137. Obviously, my best bet today is in the Brann game as a single over 2.25 goals. And Stuttgart, I think, over 3 Asian looks great there. You've got the 3 ties that you look. Remind us which games you got the 3 ties in, James, before we go.
So as I said, this is a system bet, really, on the games which are taking place. This is all Europa League stuff, obviously. Let me see what we've got here. The first one was the PAOK game?
PAOK and then Dinamo Zagreb and Panathinaikos, right?
Yeah, PAOK Celta Vigo, Dinamo Zagreb Genk, and Panathinaikos Viktoria Plzen. As I say, the price might move a little bit, but they've all been available, the tie that is, on all 3 matches at over plus 200. So you would only need one of the 3 to land in order to make a profit. Dinamo Zagreb Genk, PAOK Celta Vigo, Panathinaikos Viktoria Plzen. That's my main plays on the money line markets in the Europa League today.
And your other strong play today is Lille, Red Star Belgrade, under 3 Asian goals. Just a reminder before we go, for those who are joining live or on demand watching later, the Champions League bonus bet. Don't miss out on this if you've not already. If you bet with Bet Rivers in New York or New Jersey, you can take advantage of a Champions League bonus bet from Betting Weekly. Enter the bonus code BW216 for a $10 bonus bet to use on the Champions League knockout matches. That's next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. BW216, available to Bet Rivers bettors in New York or New Jersey. Offer ends on 25th of February. Must be 21. Make sure to make use of that. If you've not used it already, think about it, what bet you might use for the second legs on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thanks so much, everyone who joined in live or on demand. Apologies for the technical difficulties earlier, but we got there in the end, James. It's a bit of a manic show.
We did.
So that's all that matters, isn't it? It was a great pleasure.
Yes, which was great. So thank you to everybody for your patience, and thank you for the comments and views as ever. And looking forward to a great evening of soccer.
Yeah, and I want to say thanks to the production team behind the background as well, Troy and John, who have no doubt made my life a lot easier today with a lot of stuff. And throughout the whole week, so much goes on into these shows behind the background, especially on the big weeks where we've got Champions League and Europa. So big thanks to everyone there. And later on, you can watch Betting Weekly Live, US edition. Doug and Mike back together today. So do check that out. And the Premier League show is already released. I think it came out about an hour or 2 ago, James. So I'm going to watch that as soon as we've finished here. Good luck with all your plays. I look forward to doing extra time with you tomorrow. And next week, we are back for the second legs. So let's cash those tickets, James, and take care of yourself. And I'll see you next week. And goodbye, everyone. Remember, gamble responsibly. I'm back on tomorrow with Nathan Joys. I think is going to be joining me tomorrow. So do check that out. Take care, y'all. See you next time.